Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I want to kind of address a topic, and it's one of those things that to me is a little frustrating. Uh, as someone who has been sober for over 4 years, and I realize how much alcohol can negatively affect, quality of life on so many levels. But it's always fascinating to me when we're looking at fitness, and you have people who will be scared of certain things in their diet, right? They'll be like, "Oh, you shouldn't, you know, eat sugar or aspartame or white rice." It'll be something like that that may or may not be a real concern, but then they will consume alcohol in moderation. And that's kind of the interesting thing is the cognitive dissonance there. And I'm not saying it's impossible to be healthy and consume alcohol in moderation. So I want to be clear on that. I choose to completely abstain, but in the case of alcohol, even in moderation, there are health negatives. And I'll go so far as to say that, again, perfect example, people will discuss something like aspartame, right? They'll discuss something like aspartame. And they'll say, well, you shouldn't be consuming that. It's bad. But then they have several drinks on Friday night. Well, realistically speaking, if you really step back and you're objective with the scientific evidence, there's almost no amount of aspartame that a human being can possibly realistically consume that would be as detrimental as your 3 drinks on Friday night. And I know people are like, what? Is that serious? I'm like, yeah, because the amount of aspartame that has been suggested in studies that may cause health negatives would be just astronomical amounts. It's not amounts that you're going to be able to consume. In other words, if you drink a 2-liter bottle of Diet Coke every day, you're not at that threshold. So you kind of see where we're going here. You're nowhere near that threshold where we think there might be health risk. Not proven, but that we think might exist. You're not there with 2 liters of diet soda every day. You're just not. That's way, way lower. Whereas in a couple of drinks, like 2 or 3 drinks a week, or 2 or 3 drinks on Friday night, do have a measurable result on health. Is it massive? Is it, oh, this giant, enormous thing to be worried about? No, but you will see some negative effects on your health markers from that. It is enough to register, right? It's significant enough to register. And that's what the research and medical doctors will tell you who really look at the research objectively, that the healthiest amount of alcohol to drink is 0. And again, I'm not saying that you're going to be unhealthy because you have a few drinks. I'm saying that it is enough to impact these things. It's enough to have a measurable impact. And it might be a very small impact, but it's there. And, it's the same with your fitness goals. Okay, it's the same with your fitness goals. Drinking any amount of alcohol can make it more difficult to achieve any fitness goal. Why? Because of the impact on things like body fat storage, the negative impact on sleep, right? The possible negative impacts on your hormone profile, the extra load on the liver. Even in moderation, these things do occur, right? These things are occurring. Are they anywhere near as big of a concern as someone who's an alcoholic who binge drinks? No, of course not. Of course not. But they're there. And that's one of the things that I would suggest to people immediately. If you're pursuing a fitness goal, and I don't care whether it's to be a really serious lifter or you're just trying to lose some body fat and get in better shape, one of the first things you should be cutting back is alcohol, right? It's one of the first things you should be cutting back, because that alone will improve the way that you feel. It will improve your quality of life. It will improve your sleep. It will improve your overall recovery. It'll make recovering from exercise easier because your body isn't utilizing resources, detoxifying ethanol, which is a toxin in the body. You're not using those resources up on that. Therefore, your body's going to handle things like recovery from exercise and training easier, right? it's going to handle them easier. And am I telling people that the only way to do this is to drink not at all? No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you drink not at all, it will be helpful. But simply cutting back what you're drinking. Okay, if you drink regularly and you're struggling with fitness goals, it's very, very obvious that the first thing you should probably do is to cut that back. Maybe cut it in half. Maybe cut it in half. If you're having 6 or 7 drinks a week, see if you can cut it down to 3 or 4. That is enough to matter. That will make a significant difference in reaching your fitness goals. That will make a measurable difference. Okay? And again, I'm not saying that it makes it impossible to reach your goals. What I'm saying is that it makes it more difficult. You're making it more difficult on yourself by doing so. And that's maybe something for people to think about and consider also. If they step back and say, well, I need to drink X amount. And I'm not talking about for a social occasion, like maybe you do need a Friday night to unwind and have a couple drinks. Okay, in a social setting. That's one thing. But if you're over at the other saying, well, I've got to have one every night, or I have to get intoxicated on Friday night. Well, if you're saying that you have to do that, and that that's required for your quality of life, that might be the time when you need to seriously think about it. That might be the time when you need to seriously think about, is this become a negative in your life to the point to where you have to have it, or you have to have those amounts, not 2 or 3 drinks once a week. You have to have one every night, or you have to get intoxicated every Friday in the social setting. Well, that's a concern. That could very, very quickly shift into a very bad direction for you. So if you're at that point where a person says, I can't cut back a little bit for my fitness goals because I have to have this amount, well, that's indicative of a more serious problem that's developing. And it's just something that people need to be aware of. But I would suggest to you that in general, if you drink, cutting back will benefit your fitness goals. It will benefit them. Absolutely. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I'll talk to you guys next time.